If you want to get buyers from the videos that you're creating, you must do one very important thing. And that one very important thing got me to 100,000 followers on Instagram and made me over $4 million. And that is in a time span of 3 years. Now, the reason why what I'm going to explain in today's video is very important to understand is that most people have views, most people have engagement, or you might have nothing. And that is one of the biggest problems because views is something that in today's economy don't matter. You must have buyers. And the reason why this is important is because we all want to achieve financial freedom to be able to have the ability to do whatever we want. But that's not going to happen when we just get views. So you need to understand what to tell the people that are watching to be able to make them pay you money for them to tap their credit card. At the same time, when the wrong people are watching your content, nothing will ever happen in the first place, and you won't have an audience, a group of users that is actually going to convert in the first place. So we have two different segments. One is traffic and one is conversion. When you have the wrong traffic, the conversion doesn't matter in the first place. So the first thing you need to understand is you need to sell to a market with capital. As an example, every single person wants money, and people would easily pay money for something that makes more money. People have a way harder time paying for their health, paying for friendships, paying for a relationship, learning how to deal with relationships, paying for therapy. People wouldn't pay 20 grand up front for that unless the pain is so extremely big that there's no other option. But the angle that you can utilize while you have very content about money, people will easily pay you for that because the return will be massive in their mind. There's a direct return on investment attached to it. And that direct return on investment is something that actually matters because nowadays, the only thing that matters is how you can grasp people's attention as quickly as possible. And the only way you can grasp it as quickly as possible is if you understand how you verbally need to talk about the right thing to make people visually see the return on investment on the thing that they're investing in. Meaning, if I tell you, you're going to pay me $10,000 and I make you $20,000 is extremely clear. But if I'm going to tell you you're going to pay me $10,000 and you get health benefits, what does that include? How does that work? How long does that take? The return on investment is not very direct, meaning this is something that needs to be communicated. Secondly, when you want to attract buyers in your content, you need to understand who you attract and how to convert these people. The only misconception that people have about that specific part is people always have either none of these two components optimized or they have one or the other optimized. So the way to solve this problem is very easy. The only way you can solve this problem is by syncing, making what you verbally talk about sense with what you visually show. So as an example, when I am talking about money and I'm talking about investments and but I show a very plain background that doesn't relate with the topic I'm talking about, people instantly and unconsciously recognize that as something that is irrelevant, unimportant, or not true. Nowadays, the only thing you want is the truth because trust is the most important currency that people care about. So the way you solve this problem, like, I don't know, a lot of you guys have seen my Instagram specifically, but on my Instagram, when I make content, every single time I make content, I picture something in my head and I'm gonna personally realize and see if what I'm verbally gonna say is something that makes sense with what I'm visually showing. So every time you show something visually and you verbally talk about something, it needs to be a perfect fit because otherwise there's a lot of friction, right? And friction doesn't sell. So because we're willing to sell something through Instagram, it's the most important thing to make that very appealing. It's same with documented and non-documented content. Over time, right? In the past 3 years, I learned how to speak with conviction. I learned how to speak with a very calm tone. I learned how to speak to make people listen to me and make people pay attention to me, right? The reason why you're watching this video for 3 minutes is because you're interested in the story that I'm going to tell you. And that story is interesting based on the way I speak or maybe based on the topic. It's maybe interesting based on the background that you see here, right? And maybe because this channel now doesn't have a lot of subscribers, it makes you realize, oh, cool, maybe this is a gold mine, right? It creates some sort of authority. It's some sort of leverage that I have. And that is something very important to understand, right? So this is non-documented content, and you have people that create very much documented content. So the second part is documented content means you are going to place the camera in a position and physically record something, to put attention to it all the time. And that is bad because the camera is number one and you are number two. So you have to understand what I'm doing right now is documented content, which is great. I put the camera there. I'm talking about a specific topic, which is documented content. But for my main offer, like the company, the consulting firm that we have, what we do is we only make non-documented content. So people see that I'm busy doing my thing every single day while documenting that journey. So I'm moving as an expert and I'm documenting how I move as an expert between the client deals that we have, between the partnerships, between how I travel, the deals that I close, the deals that I lose, everything. We capture the moment, the journey, which is non-documented, which is way more valuable because it puts you in an authority position. And that's actually what scales. So the way to solve this problem, your next action step, if you want people to buy through the content that you're creating, instead of just viewing you, instead of just liking you, or instead of just being a fan of who you are, what you need to do is one thing. That is capturing what you already do. I move as an expert every single day, and I have my team around me, my full content team, that edits, captures it, and recognizes very important moments to capture for short form, right? And this is very important because that makes me look the authority. That saves me a lot of content. It's extremely efficient. I don't need to sit down to record a specific content piece. I don't even have time for that. I'm busy with clients. I'm busy signing more deals. I'm busy creating content, right? Marketing plans. I don't have time to just sit down for 2 hours every day and then over and over and over again create content that I think fits my ICP. I'm doing what I'm doing all the time. And I'm capturing while I'm doing that, which is the most important thing to understand. That means you'll lead with action and not procrastination. Most people procrastinate when they need to write a script, when they need to think about a topic, or when they need to specifically sit down to record content. And it will also come across way less authentic. That's the second problem to solve. The third problem is distribution. You want to be as efficient as possible in your distribution. And the way you do this is by having one long form content piece that you can distribute in so many different things. So we have multiple channels we use for a company: YouTube, Instagram, you can use X, you can use LinkedIn if you like it for the type of people you're attracting. And the main problem this solves is you can distribute the main piece of content. So you have to understand, the top of the list is always the longest piece of content, long form content. The content that brings the most weight, the content that brings the most conversion, which is YouTube, right? So within our company, we have a content schedule that when we make long form content, we have 2 editors that go over that specific piece and filter out the right moments to capture them into short form. Then based on that short form, we transform that. We have a custom AI that we have built, and this is a transcript writer that is specifically making quotes. So we've prompted it for it to create quotes. Out of that short form content, it can create 2 or 3 quotes that we can post on Twitter or on X, right? So the most important thing is when that happens continuously, you're distributing content while creating leverage, because you post the same shit. You just post it in different ways on different platforms. I create story sequences. And people always tell me, Nick, if you create a story sequence every day, how do you get ideas? The main ideas come from the longer pieces of content, right? So I distribute a longer form piece of content. Like in the first place, I'm solving 3 problems in this video. And these 3 problems can all be distributed into shorter form content, which is the way you create leverage. That is the most important thing. And when you're making new videos every week and new content every single time, you're distributing by so much efficiency, you'll never overthink which topic you need to use. And your audience is aligned on multiple platforms that when the user moves from Instagram to YouTube, it synchronizes perfectly. And that's the most important thing, because you'll only get buyers when your messaging, the things that you're saying, verbally hit the prospect by their pain points. So What you're saying determines the amount of money you make. The way you say it determines how long it takes for you to make that money. It's the conversion cycle. So if you understand what to say to make people pay you, and you understand how to shorten the lifespan of making and technically taking that money from people, you have figured out business, because the only thing a business runs on is cash flow. A business without sales isn't a business. And then obviously you have to figure out fulfillment the moment they pay you. But I think that is something that I really learned that is so crucial to understand when it comes down to creating content, speaking to the right person, figuring out their pain points and solving that problem along the way. Because the only thing you should do are these 3 steps when you want to get buyers. I have so many clients. I have clients with millions of followers. I have also clients that make millions of dollars that don't have millions of followers. So people come to me within different situations, with different aspects, with different pain points. And the main thing that I've seen is you need to focus on the most important things within your company to solve pain points that actually matter. And the only way to figure that out, this is very important. You're gonna ask yourself the question, okay, cool, how do I get buyers? By speaking to people's pain points. This is one problem you solve, very easy. You're an expert in what you do, and you probably sell something about a topic that you're knowledgeable about. And the way to solve this problem very efficiently is by going back to the root of where that problem came from. So as an example, you currently help people solve a specific problem and you charge for either that information, for the service, for the product, anything that you do. Now, you've probably been in that stage because you have knowledge about that topic. That's the reason why you sell it. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go back into that stage of when you were taking certain actions, right? And you're gonna realize what your pain points were, where you were in that moment. When you understand because the pain points you have now are not the pain points that your audience has. Does that make sense? Because the thing that I struggle with and the thing that I learned along the way, that's the reason why over time we scaled, over time we made more money, because the foundation was built so good that ads are gonna be more profitable. Voluming content is gonna be more profitable. More people are gonna upsell and ascend into next offers in the backend because our message and our offer was aligned. Simply because I know how to speak to people's pain points, because I understood what they need, because I have been in their situation. The only thing I needed to do is go back, reflect on going back into that situation of thinking what I need. Okay, the younger Nick a year ago, what did I need? Where was I in business? Where was I traveling to? What are the things that I care about? Right now in life, I'm a multimillionaire, I'm traveling the world, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want. But a year ago, I would say 2 years ago, that absolutely wasn't the case. The thing that I was talking about is when I was not in the situation of where I was right now, I had different problems. I cared about different things. I was looking at different people. I was desiring a different car. I was eating different food. So the thing that actually matters is the situation you're in and the beliefs that you have. So when you can recognize the beliefs, the patterns, the daily actions of your current audience, and you make a suitable offer that fits that audience, it's so fucking easy sellable. It's so easy to sell something to someone that wants something. When you sell something to someone that doesn't want something, you can have an amazing offer, you can have the best production, you can have the most insane credibility and testimonials, but nobody would give you a fucking dollar.